Welcome to the No Risk Business Performance Podcast, where we discuss all things very small business, from the challenges to solutions to failures and victories. I'm your host, Judah Boulay, and I'm ready to roll, so let's do this. All right, so I'm very excited about today's guest. We have Robert Foster from RBF Fitness, as well as the Shut Up and Grind podcast. Robert, welcome. I'm excited to talk to you and hear a little bit more about what you do and the services you provide to clients, as well as hear about your podcast. I know you have a great story behind you, and I think the listeners are going to really be amped to hear your story. So welcome, and let's tell people a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity. Always appreciated to be to share with anyone's audience. So thank you. And so what I do is I'm a gym owner, first and foremost, turned speaker, turned podcast host, turned business coach. And so growing up, I always wanted to be some type of a performer. I don't know if I want to be a singer or an actor or a rapper or just something. I knew I wanted to be something just bigger than a 9-to-5 type of job. And so what happened? I ended up spending 20 years as a restaurant manager. So definitely wasn't the direction I wanted to go. But during that process, I learned what I needed to know about business, not even realizing that I was picking up the skills. It was just part of my job, hiring, firing, HR rules, sales forecasting, profit and loss, income statements, all that kind of business stuff. So towards the tail end of management, I'm a parent of five kids, and just the restaurant schedule is brutal. Right. So I was missing a lot of things, missing the first steps, missing the teeth popping through, having to miss midday functions at the school, like the Daddy and Me Day, because I made a good amount of them, but I couldn't make all of them. And I had parents who were very, very involved. So it was important to me to be able to be involved. So I actually set up in my old house, I had a big garage. And I'm not the handy type, like I don't fix cars or any of that stuff. So the garage was just kind of going to waste. So I started seeing things on Craigslist, like free treadmill, free elliptical, free weights, or cheap weights. And I was like, you know what, let me get back to my athletic roots a little. And so I just started gathering stuff. And then the more and more stuff I gathered, I just started setting it up to look like an actual gym. Ended up putting drywall and insulation in there. I put a heater in there. And so I was like, I have all this stuff. Like, why don't I just, train a couple people? And it was more so just for fun, because I was coming home from the restaurant, bringing the stress of it with me. And like, I was lashing at my now ex, I was lashing at the kids, and I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. And towards the end there, I was losing that. Like, I was losing who I was. So I was just trying to create something to get me back to where I was. It was like, I'm very competitive, in sports. And like I said, I like to laugh. I like to have fun. So I started training a couple people, and I loved it. And it wasn't supposed to grow beyond that. It was supposed to get, handful of people just to give me an outlet. And then next thing you fast forward, I have 40 clients training with me in my garage and in the park across the street. And then I start weighing, like I'm doing 3 classes a week. I was only charging $50 a month for 3 classes a week, because I didn't know any better then. Right. And I'm starting to look at what I'm making in the restaurant, working 60 hours a week versus doing 3 hours a week and selling supplements out of my trunk. So then it was tough for me to make the jump, having 5 kids, to just say, I'm going to jump in this, because I had insurance and I had vacation. I had a guaranteed check every Friday. But then the universe decided for me, and I lost my management job in 2009 at the height of the recession. And then I just pursued fitness ever since.
That's awesome. That's it's just one of the things, if you want to be successful in something and for a new opportunity, it's like burn the boats. Yeah. That's, if you want to capture the island, you need to burn the boats. Yeah. I did something similar when I went full time with with mine. Business was on the brink, 6 months out from failing. I was teaching at the time full time, and I made the jump from teaching to running the business to save the business. And it was like, I was in the process of like getting my certification to, in Rhode Island, just in case it didn't work out. And I stopped because I was like, wait, no, I don't want any safety net, because I'm going to make this work. And the only way to make something work is if you fully commit to it. So it's like a similar thing, like you had no other option. You had to make it work. You had 5 kids and you just shut up and grinded. So
yeah, it's like even still, just to add on to that. So like I did pursue it, but I still left myself a safety net, because I was teaching at FM Global and their corporate fitness, and I was teaching for Bank of America, and I was also teaching at Workout World. So I still had some guaranteed income coming in, because at the time, I didn't know what I was doing as far as marketing. It's like I had the business knowledge, so I could set up the paperwork and stuff.
Right.
But I had no idea how to get people. I mean, yeah, I placed a couple of Craigslist ads, but it's one thing doing it in my garage. And then the first time I started renting space, that was a whole different ballgame, because now I have overhead, whereas at home, I didn't have any overhead. So it was tough. But, to piggyback on what you said, I applied for a scholarship for a fitness business summit out in California. And now in between that time, I had a major knee surgery and I donated a kidney to my sister. So I had 2 pretty big surgeries that kind of slowed things down a little. It didn't stop it, but it slowed things down. And so I was kind of at a crossroads, like, I don't know what to do now. So I applied for that scholarship. And I think having those 2 stories helped me, because people are all about the backstory. So I won the scholarship. I just had to pay for the airfare out there. They paid for everything else.
That's awesome.
Which was, like, it was a great experience. But sitting there, it was such an eye opener, because you talk to other people like, oh, there's no money in that. You'll have to work 18 hours a day to make the gym work. Most gyms close in 18 months. Like, you hear all that stuff, but to get around these people with $1 million gyms, high 6-figure gyms, multiple 6-figure gyms, and they all said the same thing: if you have a plan B, plan A is never going to work. And so right when I got back, I put my notice in at those 3 corporate places. And I was like, I have to go all in. And in a matter of months, I went from 40 clients to 140, just from focusing in all on that one area.
That's awesome. So what was the key to going from 40 to 140? Just the focus, or how did you do that?
It was the focus and a little bit of luck, because that was right around the time when Groupon and Living Social came out.
Yeah.
And so I had ended up switching locations. Well, I had to switch locations 7 times. So I started out in a karate dojo, and it was just a conflict of interest there. So this was in Johnston. So I ended up moving down to West Warwick. And as you know, in Rhode Island, you move more than 5 miles, you lose all your clients. So,
right.
So I moved to West Warwick and had to pretty much start over from there. I had a decent following there, but then the dance studio owner decided to move to a new studio, and I wasn't part of her moving plans. This was a big deal, because I had probably about 55 to 60 clients then. And then I went all the way down to 8, because I had to move to North Providence, because she only gave me 9 days notice. So I had to take what I could get. And I was able to partner with a wellness place up there, but it was in the Gold's Gym Plaza off of 44.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, this kind of sucks, but I'm in a spot where there's fitness people, every single day.
I used to go to that Gold's Gym. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
like one of the original members there when it first opened up.
Yeah, so there was a wellness center over there. Like, there used to be a physical therapy place. So I rented space in the wellness center. And that was the turning point, because where I was in West Warwick, it's way more populated at this place in North Providence. So that's when I heard about Living Social. So I said, for giggles, let's do a deal. So I did a deal, and I sold 160 of the deals, and about 125 actually redeemed.
Wow.
And I was able to maintain a good amount, because at the time in that area, really no one was doing my style of training. It was all stuff like you would find at a Gold's Gym. And I'm not knocking them, but it's like, it's repetitive.
Yeah.
Like I said, I used to teach at Workout World. Like you walk into the class and clients are already there. They have stuff already laid out. Like it's like the same format every single time.
Yep.
And so when I moved there, I went to Gold's Gym and I got a copy of their schedule and just made sure I made mine different. I don't want to have the same stuff that they have. And now the people who ran the wellness center, they always had the windows down, they had the door shut. And I'm like, you have all these fitness people walking by all day. I was like, why aren't you like open? Let people look in.
Right.
So when I would get there at night, I would open all the blinds, I'd prop the door open, and I'd have my speaker right at the door, just cranking. And doing that alone, I probably got 5 to 10 clients a week, depending on the day, because people are like, what's going on in there? And they just say something different. It's higher intensity, it's higher energy. And I just think just bringing a different approach to it. Like I definitely didn't reinvent anything, but just as the coach can change everything.
Correct.
I mean, because like I've been like I know with your CrossFit background, I've been to a few of them just to see what it was about. And there were a couple where I was like, this isn't my cup of tea. And I was at one that was phenomenal. Yeah. So it's like the delivery is everything. And I just think people were just attracted to my delivery.
Right. You're very energetic. So, and you get a lot of, that personality always shines through every time we've had interactions. Yeah. So, and you were lucky at the back, you hit the Groupon and the Living Social back in the day when they actually worked.
Yes, exactly.
But it was a novelty.
Now.
You can't do anything with it now. It's you did it when it actually worked and it was a thing.
Yes.
That we're kind of dating ourselves then in the industry. So I'm going to ask you a little deeper question because I know you have this desire to help people in fitness and help them achieve health, but then you also have this desire in business to help people succeed in their business. So what is your why?
So the why, it's multifaceted, because like most people will say, it's the kids, it's this, it's that. And anyone that has kids, obviously they're a huge part of the why. But mine is more so, there are so many people who are lost. So it's like, I always tell people I'm a coach. Like people will ask me all the time, are you a trainer? I'm like, no, I'm a coach. It's like, it's just a different mindset. Like you can tell people who are just trainers, they're in there, they do their jobs, they do it well. They help people get stronger, faster, fitter, but they don't do anything on the mental side. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like coaches focus on the mental side. So with me, I always say I'm a personal development coach that uses fitness as the platform. So when I see people turn on the mental aspect, like, when people start, they're like, which one's the lighter one, which one's the lower one or whatever. But then to watch them come in and be like, I want that kettlebell, put 20 more pounds on there. Like just watching the confidence shift. Mm-hmm. That's what does it for me. More than money, more than any accolades or any of that stuff. Just watching someone go from unsure to let's get it. Like I love that moment. So that's what fuels it for me.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, it's funny because you have, I'm sure you've had the clients who shy away from really pushing themselves.
Yes.
Right. And to try to get them and then you have the clients that love to push themselves and want you to push them. And, obviously one's a little bit more fun to work with than the other, but it's trying to get all the clients to want to really push themselves to achieve, what their best can be for that day.
Yes.
And that the mental aspect that, definitely. So so that's with fitness, but now when we talk about business and when you work with business, so it's the same why do you take, you're trying to change mindset. You find mindset really inhibits the people that you work with?
Yes, I want to answer that with a quick story. So in 1996. Now, so I have a big track and field background, which is remind me to ask you something about that when we're done with this. Actually, sure. I just wrote it down. All right. So I was at this track meet because I go and I just scout. So I was a high jumper. and there's not a lot of good high jump coaches. So that you can tell the people that YouTube and Google stuff and have the athletes do it. So I just go and I just watch. And I saw this girl from North Kingstown, Laura Berman, and she had like springs in her legs, but I could tell she was kind of a head case. And so, and there were these twin sisters from South Kingstown. They were good jumpers as well. And I could tell she was in her head about them. But style wise, approach wise, explosion wise, like she had it all over these two twins. And so now she doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. And I was just like, you come here. After one of her jumps, I was like, you're in your head. You're overthinking too much. Before your next jump, I want you to take 3 deep breaths and picture yourself clearing the bar. And she's like, yeah, but the other girl, no. Don't worry about the other girl. Just take 3 deep breaths, picture yourself going over the bar and explode. That was all I said to her. So she gets up there. I see her taking a 3 deep breaths. She goes and she makes it. And so then she immediately runs back over to me. What else can you tell me? Right? And so like I just kind of coaching her through. And now, some coaches can be very territorial. Right. And like, I'm all about my athlete first. Like, I don't claim to know everything about everything. In your background, you could probably come say, hey, Rob, if she does X, Y, Z, she'll get even more explosion. I'm not going to say, well, you've never high jumped. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to take what I learned from you and apply it to her. So anyway, I see her coach walking towards me. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Going to say they'll leave my athlete alone or whatever. And she's like, excuse me, what did you say to her? So I told her what I said, and she's like, she doesn't listen to anyone. she's like, would you mind working with us? If you can, a day or 2 per week. I said, absolutely. She's like, I can't promise that we'll be able to pay you. I said, don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the money. I said, I'll come down. I'll work with her. I said, just let me be able to document the process. I said, that's all I want. And what I did with this girl, I know I'm making my short story long.
No worries.
But what I did with this girl, I told her every time I saw her, Laura, you're the best in the state. You don't have to beat them. They have to beat you. Now go out there and prove it. Like, I tweaked one little thing in her approach. Other than that, I didn't teach her anything else. It was all mental. So it got to the point as we were getting into the championship meets, I'm like, Laura, I want to hear it. She's like, Coach, I'm the best in the state. I don't have to beat them. They have to beat me. Or yeah, they have to beat me. I said, exactly. She ended up winning all division, all class, all state. And she I think she was second in the New England's.
That's awesome.
And she got a full ride to Stonehill College in Mass. And that was all I did. So I worked with her the tail end of that year and then all of the following year.
Right. That's very similar. Like, I don't know if you watch UFC. I'm a big UFC fan, but Rose Namajunas just won the world title, and she like vicious head kick and at the end, like the interview, like her she's all about personal mindset and mantras, and she's like, I'm the best, I'm the best. And like she recited it. She's like, that's what I said before I went out, and that's what I'm saying now. And it's not cocky, it's just having that mental positive attitude. And I think that goes so far. Now, how's that translate to the business aspect now in terms of the mindset with business?
So how that translates in business is you have to know who you are. So that's your branding and your product. So just like as an athlete, as you just stated, you're not going to go through all this training to not win or to not think that you can win. Because if that's the case, don't step into the octagon, don't step onto the football field, don't step onto the track. It's like, why are you even out there? So I can see when you're little kids, it's about development and teamwork and all that. But at our age, like when you're in your prime and beyond, you play to win, right? So it's the same in business. Like if you're going to go into business, you have to know what you're doing and who you are. And then from there, you got to know, who are you serving? So who are you serving? What are their needs? How are you solving their needs? And then how are you attracting them? So like when I'm preparing for track meets, because I'm 46 and a half, and I still compete in track and field.
Oh, that's awesome.
So now I'm not jumping the way I was 20 years ago, but I'm doing enough to be competitive. And when I'm out there, it's like, all right, I have to get out there and I have to do these drills. I have to, eat this way. I have to drink this much water. Like there's a certain amount of steps that you have to take. And business, as you know, is the same way. If you miss a step, if people are calling you and you don't follow through, you're going to lose them. If people can't walk into your business and know exactly what you do, you're going to lose people. If you have the phone manner of a rock, you're going to lose people. Like everything matters. So that's how that translates over. It's almost every facet of your life. It's just like running your household.
Right. So now, do you find with the business you've worked with, that same negative mindset that high jumper had before you worked with her?
Yeah, you see a lot of it. I mean, like people that seek out a coach, they kind of know that they need help. But I just think a lot of it is they don't realize how much they need. Because I'll say one question, and I do this on all of my podcasts. The first question I ask is like, when you come on mine, I'm going to say, who is Judah? And you have no idea how many people struggle with that. It's like you don't know what you're about. It's like you shouldn't have to think about that.
Right.
And that's why I focus more on the brand message, because and I kind of suck on the systems end. So we could probably do a dynamic webinar together on those two fronts.
Yeah, perfect.
But just helping people, like I don't want to put the business on blast, but I was working with someone a couple of years ago. Numbers wise, he does very well, but he wanted to improve on his adult fitness. He does a lot of birthday parties, right? It's like, you have kids, right?
Yeah, two boys.
Two boys.
8 and 6.
Right, 8 and 6. So if they get invited to a birthday party, who's bringing them?
Me or my ex. So
yeah, you and the ex. So a parent's bringing them.
Right.
So it's like, you want to build your adult fitness. You do 6 to 8 birthday parties a weekend. So parents are bringing these kids in. I was like, you have people in your effing building.
That's easy.
Exactly. I said, you should be here having some types of games. Like when I was in my old location, I started doing birthday parties too. It happened by accident, as we were looking for somewhere for my daughter. This is in 2015. Remember when it snowed like every day?
Yeah.
That February.
Yep.
So my daughter's birthday is February 11th. So my ex and I are like, what are we going to do for her birthday now? We had just built that gym in Cranston. It was like brand spanking new.
Yeah.
She's like, why don't we do it at the gym? And I was like, hell no. like we just put $30,000 into that. Like I'm going to be scraping frosting off the floor. And then more snow, and then more snow, and then more snow. So I was like, you know what? Let's just try it and see how it goes. So that way, if we have to cancel, we don't have to worry about trying to get a deposit back and everything else. And the kids loved it. Right? Yeah, 26 kids. Like we set up an obstacle course, but the big thing is towards the end, the parents started walking around like, hey, do you have brochures? And then my ex and I, we looked at each other like, we might be onto something here. So my twins' birthday was 6 weeks later. So like, let's do the twins' birthday there too. And let's see how that goes. And then so what I started doing is the people that were on my unlimited plan, I gave them a free birthday party for their kids. Cause so that way, who are they going to invite? They're going to invite their friends, So now we're getting people who are their peers in. And then I had these little things called RBF bucks. And so we gave all the kids a bunch of RBF bucks because they can turn them in to pick out of the prize bin, but you have to be a member of our kids class. So from these birthday parties, even though I did them for free, it was myself and my 3 older kids. We were the party staff. So it didn't really cost me anything but time and electricity to do it. But we ended up getting kids clients and adult clients. So now that party had like a lifetime value in the thousands. It's insane.
Right. That's awesome. No, that's great. That's a great way to, I know some other places that I've seen do something similar, but that's a great, great way to market yourself and services, like, that soft marketing.
Yep.
So now this mental mindset training philosophy that you have, where did that come from? How did that develop?
Dear old dad.
Okay.
Dear dad, God rest his soul. So this man, never admitted defeat with anything. Never. Now, he was an engineer. He was very smart too. He skipped 2 grades in high school and he got a full ride to Syracuse University. So like building cars, anything, like literally anything, no matter what it was, he could do it, like welding and carpentry, plumbing, like all of it. So I was born in New York City. So we lived in the projects down there, not in the nice part of New York City. Like we lived in the hood. And so we moved out of there. I was 2.5. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. And so my dad knew that environment wasn't good, conducive to raising 7 kids. So he came up here to Rhode Island. He got a job at Electric Boat building submarines. So he came up here first. We got a house down in Charlestown, like completely different environment than Brooklyn, New York and Queens, New York. So like I grew up in the woods, but like while he's working on cars, like I've helped, like, now when I say helped, I was like just handing him stuff, helping him rebuild engines. Cause I told you, I didn't get that handy bug, but that was a good set of muscles for him. So I could hold stuff, but anyway, I've watched him rebuild engines. I've helped him, build his garage and put the roof on the garage. And there was never an I can't. It's always, all right, plan B. All right, plan C. All right, let me think. I was like, if something didn't go right, he just racked his brain until he figured it out. Just made it happen, just never admitted defeat. And I'll share this, this other quick story. So my parents bought a new fridge and a new dining room table. And so they get to the house and the table was a little wider than they anticipated. So when you went to open the fridge, I'm sorry, not the fridge. When you went to open the outside door, it would hit the table. And then they couldn't move the table because then the fridge couldn't fully open. Normal people would have returned one of them and gotten a smaller size, right? But Dad was hell-bent that he wanted that table and that fridge. So right, we fast forward a few days, it's the weekend, and I'm coming down to visit. And I see the side of the house is ripped down. Right. And so I'm looking, I see my mom, I'm like, what is he doing? She's like, go ask him. So I'm like, big guy, what's up? So the door was here. There was a window here. He switched them. So he reframed that side of the house and he switched them and put the door here and the window here so the door could open. So that is where I get it from.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Now, have you done any like training as well, or you just developed he helped you develop a positive attitude growing up, and you just realized that so many people did not have that attitude, and you're like, I can help people this way.
Yeah. Well, I started managing, as I said, managing restaurants. I actually started at 15 in a small diner. So when you're in charge, you have no choice but to be in control. Mm-hmm. So when stuff's hitting the fan, you can't crumble, because if you crumble, everything crumbles. Right. So being headstrong was put into me early, starting with Dad and then starting from working early. I started working at 12. And then, like I said, I started managing at 15. I became a general manager at 19. So like just being in charge was always, being captain of sports teams and stuff as well. And I'd say one of the first times I really encountered it was, how Hope High School has perennially had a strong track team. Right. Yep. And so in the Class Bs, they were favored pretty heavily. And I went and talked to my coach. I was like, we can take them. I said, in the States, they'll probably win the States, because in the States, it's all about the stars. Mm-hmm. Like in the class, in the divisional, it's about depth. Right. And I was like, depth wise, I think we can take them. So, we start, writing it out. Like, I said, I'm going to win mine. Tommy's going to win his. The pole vaulters are going to take 1, 2. Like, Hope's going to sweep us on the track. But if we can get 3rd and 4th here, 2nd and 3rd here, and just started breaking it down. I said, we got to talk to these guys and let them know that we need their best today. So I went over to the hurdler. I said, listen, don't worry about 1st place. You need to get 5th. You know what I mean? It's like, you need to get 5th so we can get those 2 points. You in the 3,000, just try to get that 6th spot. We need that 1 point. And so we just started strategically planning and just getting everybody in their roles and say, you have to believe you can do this. And it came down to the 4x4. And again, now they had the state record holder, an All-American 400 runner, but he's the leadoff. And see, I feel like that's where they screwed up, because he should have been the anchor.
Right.
But they had him lead. So I was like, Gomes is going to go out hard. I said, you just have to trail him. Then I went to my anchor. I said, dude, we need everything. You need to leave it all out there, because if you do this, we're champs. And he did. He left it all out there, and we edged them out, and they were pissed. They were so pissed. Like, I got hated on, like, how we got all this racial tension going on now.
Mm-hmm.
I got so much hate for being on that team by those city kids. So much hate. Oh my Lord. They would call me country bumpkin, farmer boy. You know what I mean? So, but we did it though, because we got everyone in the right headspace. We came together as a team, and we did it. The first one in Charahoe history.
That's awesome. So that's where basically your training is all self-taught, and you just from experience, because some people, get that, where like they have to manage people, and like instead of buckling, they get super stressed out, and they don't have that positive mindset.
Yeah.
They kind of like let the stress get the better of them, and they break down, and instead of being encouraging, they snap. And I'm guilty of that myself. As best as I, everybody is human and makes, mistakes, and like they learn from their mistakes and learn how to handle themselves better. But more times than not, you see the negative instead of the positive. So did you do anything to develop and nurture that positive side coming up?
Yeah, well, it definitely expanded. Like I told you about the scholarship I won, the Fitness Business Summit. So I went there in 2014 and 2016. I went to a marketing summit in Chicago. I went to several fitness masterminds, went out Colorado, Vegas, Florida, and just got with just other like-minded people. We had a coach, and he helped, to expand it. So like I had the core already in there.
Right. But
one of the last things I learned from the restaurant industry, I actually worked up at Twin River when it first converted over from Lincoln Park. So they had a buffet in there. I was the GM of the buffet until they ran it into the ground, but that's a separate story for a separate day. But they selected, like, there's like 3,000 employees there at the time. And they selected 25 of us to go through this training called Human Dynamics. And that's where they basically take you through the 4 personality types. So you have your leaders, your doers, your thinkers, your feelers, and just understanding the ins and outs of each one. So how I became a better connector with people was through that training. Now, this was back in 2007, and I still use it now. Like I still do videos on it. I still use it in my coaching. I still use it in the gym, because you have those people that you can be like, just happen to get it done, and they just get it done.
Right.
But then you have other people, if you do that, they'll cry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the people that will ask, well, what does this do for me? Like, well, why do I have to do that many reps? You get those thinkers. Right. Then you got the leaders that want the process. Like, all right, well, why am I doing it? How long am I doing this? Is everyone else doing this? So like just understanding how to work with the personality types.
Right.
It just makes you a much better connector.
That's awesome. All right, cool. So I know you're busy because you got a lot on your plate. I have my last set of questions, so we'll start going through those. So I always ask everybody, there are 3 keys to success. So whether it's for you, or usually what's your 3 keys to success for you, or the keys to success for anybody. So what are your 3 keys to success?
See it, feel it, get it. So I think too many times people have ideas and they mistake them for goals. So going back to my gym in Cranston, a year and a half prior to that happening, I took my trusty notebook and I just sketched down what I wanted my ideal gym to look like. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I didn't have business partners. I didn't have savings. I had jacked up credit. It's like I was nowhere near making this happen. Nowhere near. But I was just like, I want a small room up front because I don't want people to walk in and see the big warehouse. And because, you know, people point at all the stuff they can't do. And they're like, I can't climb that rope. I can't do those monkey bars. And I don't want that. I wanted a nice welcoming environment, then have it open up. But I wanted the obstacle stuff toward the back so it didn't slap you in the face. And so I just wrote everything down in detail. So now we fast forward, I get the business partners and we start scouting around for locations. And when we walked into the spot that we picked, it was an absolute dump. So it was Perform Better's old building.
Okay.
Off of Comstock. So it was their call center. So the front room had it had what do you call them, cubicles in there. So there's like wires and holes all over the wall. The carpet was stained and musty. And then you walk into the main warehouse and the two business partners were looking at each other like, what did we just walk into? I said, this is perfect. Right. And they both looked at me and they're like, what? I was like, you don't understand. I was like, almost 2 years ago, I wrote down this. I said, look past what you currently see, because we can fix all this. Like we can tear up the carpet, we can patch the holes in the wall, we can paint it. Like, don't worry about that. I was like, but this is the one. And he looked at me, he's like, if you're sure, you know, he's like, well, do it. And then we brought it to life. Like it was absolutely amazing. So you have to be able to see it. And so now when I say feel it, because you can just say, I want to be an astronaut. You know what I mean? Like I can see myself on the moon. It's like, but do you really? Like, do you see yourself going back to school, putting the time in, you know, doing whatever it is that you have to do to take the steps to earn your whatever it's called to become an astronaut? It's like you have to close your eyes and actually see that process and feel that process. Once those two are in line, then you'll be able to go get it. You know, so I think too many times people are like, you know what, I want to open up a gym. Like I saw this happen with a gym off of Cranston Street. It was a girl. She was a fitness competitor. You know, she paired up with one of my former clients at the time, and they went and they opened up this gym. And they opened it so fast. Like there was no soft open. Like you have no clients. Like when I opened mine, I was 150 clients deep before I opened it. So like we were profitable from the second we unlocked the doors. But they opened this place with all this fancy stuff with no clients. You know, so I was like, you didn't actually take the time to visualize the entire process and then take in what needs to happen. And then you put the steps and you're like, let's open a gym. I have money. I have good credit. Let's do it.
Right.
You know, so they skip that piece, and that's necessary.
Gotcha. Cool. And so was the third one?
Was the actual work.
Okay.
So it's like, you got to see it, you got to feel it, then you got to go get it.
Right.
Because like seeing and feeling it means nothing if you don't put the work in.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing comes easy. Small business, not for a small business owner.
Nope.
40-hour work week.
Yeah, for real.
No.
For real.
So, all right. So this is a tough one
Okay.
because there's so many out there.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one book to recommend, what book would that be?
Well, right now it's going to be the one I'm writing. But I'll be honest with you. I'm not a book reader.
Not? Okay.
No, I'm more of video. Like I'm very visual.
Okay.
Yeah, very visual. So like that's a big reason why I dropped out of college 3 times because like to just sit and read, like my mind is so abstract. It just doesn't, like I can sit here and read all these words and not retain an ounce of it. So audio books, I don't mind, but I like videos like of speakers, you know, like Gary V, like Eric Thomas, like Tony Robbins, Les Brown. So if I need a pick me up, I take those. The closest book I've ever gotten to finishing, because I haven't finished any one that I've ever bought, is The Perfect Day Formula by Craig Ballantyne.
Okay.
So like that's where again he gets into that visualization of like, you know how everybody else says, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? Yeah. He just takes it 100 times and helps you really iron out like what's your end goal? Like what does that end goal look like? And so like that one, I probably got about 3/4 of the way through, and then I got distracted with other stuff. But I would say that's a good one, the perfect day formula.
Cool. And so since you're a visual guy, if you had to recommend one movie or video clip or whatnot, then what would that one be? Do you think of one offhand that like you always go back to? Or
one movie that I like is Coach Carter. Like Coach Carter and Remember the Titans. And not even so much for like the racial component, but it was just the fact that, there were so many different personality types, so many different backgrounds, and they had to come together for a common task. Because I feel like, especially now with what's going on in the world and so much negativity being thrown out there, that I think I just posted it on my story either earlier today or just yesterday, that there's 7 billion people on this planet. Like, imagine what we could accomplish if we all just came together.
right.
And I just think those two movies truly embody that. To just look, you're bald, this one has hair, this one's black, this one's white, this one's Indian, this one's Jewish. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares? At the end of the day, we're all people that want to be happy, we want to be healthy, and we want to be successful. So I just think those two movies really, really embody that.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So last, I have two more.
Okay.
Do you have a quote that is kind of like your mantra, or a quote that you always fall back on?
I have a large, is it on this shirt? No, it's not. This shirt says I'm awesome. But on our shirts, and I have a huge mural in the gym that says, "Some wish for it, we work for it." It's at the bottom of the logo.
Okay.
Yeah, it says, "Some wish for it, we work for it." I love that one because when I was coming up for it, because we decided that we wanted something for the back of the gym. And I had one of my women at the time, she printed me up a list of just hundreds of quotes. And that was the first one. I didn't even look at the rest. I saw it and I was like, that's it. Like, some wish for it, we work for it. So I love it because you can use that in any fashion. Because again, we're all human. We all get down. We all have bad days. There are days where we don't feel like it. And then it's like, you just look at that and it's like, it's not going to build itself. It's like, you got to get up. When people are slacking at the gym, like, excuse me, are you working for it? Because right now looks like you're just wishing. So it's just such a powerful saying.
That's awesome. No, I like that. Is that your own? That's not your own though, right? You don't know where it came from, or do you?
I don't know where it came from, but it's mine now.
That's good. Dig it. All right. Last question. You're such a interesting human being. You're full of like lots of insight, great life experience. If you were me interviewing yourself, what's something you would have asked yourself that I didn't ask you? And then give us the answer.
What's the biggest struggle you've had to overcome?
All right. So what's the biggest struggle you've had to overcome?
So I had mentioned earlier about my first knee surgery because I've had 3, but the first one was major. So I had a patella tendon rupture.
Oof.
And it was bad. So I was at the ripe old age of 34. I was at a track meet, and little taste of karma ego, kind of got me there. So we were in age brackets. I was in the 30 to 34 age bracket. So I had just won the long jump, and now I had won my age bracket already, but in a high jump, but there was still a 45-year-old in. Remember I said earlier, I'm competitive. so I was like, I'm not letting this old guy beat me. So I was like, if he misses this jump, I'll stop because I already made it. But he goes and he makes it. I was like, rat bastard. So I was like, all right, I have to jump. So I go, I jump. Now I miss it, but I felt a tug in my knee. And that was the warning. And I ignored the warning. So he goes, he misses also. So I was like, I go over to my ex. I was like, give me the tape. I said, let me tape it up. And I'm going to take one more. And she's like, you already won. You don't have to do this. I said, the way my psyche is, yes, I do. Because I would rather try and lose than not try. Right. That's just how most competitive athletes, that's how they're wired. Like, I'd rather try and lose than wonder what if. So I tape it up. I get up there, I'm doing my the visualization thing, but I didn't see this coming. So I see myself go over. So I'm running, I plant, I saw white, and next thing you know, I'm on the ground. And so I glanced down and my kneecap is like 4 inches up my quad. Oof. Like it was like that far up my quad. Thankfully, it instantly went numb, so I didn't feel any of that. And so I'm yelling for my ex to call 911. I was like, call an ambulance. Like, I don't know what the hell was happening here, but my kneecap is definitely not where it's supposed to be. So like, and that's beyond dislocation. And so the athletic trainer comes running over. And so now I had my hands like this. So she really couldn't see. And so I said, she already called for the rescue. She's like, oh, I don't think you're going to need a rescue. And then I moved my hand. She's like, oh my God. She's like, how are you not screaming in pain? I was like, oh, this? I said, oh, I can't feel it. I was like, I guarantee if I could feel that, I probably would have been in shock, So getting to answer your question. So now I'm at the ER. The ER doctor comes in. He takes the brace off, and within a second, he's like, oh, you're never going to run or jump again. And now this is the same year I just started training in my garage. I just decided once I lost my management job that I wasn't going to go back, So I was like, I'm all in with this fitness thing. Like, and now you're telling me I won't run or jump again. So like, tears start streaming down my face. I look at my ex. Now her eyes are filling up. And I look back at the doctor. I said, I'm sorry, but you don't effing know me like that. Except I didn't censor it. And so I was like, you know what? You know the body. I said, but you don't know my will. I was like, you don't know what I'm able to come back from. I said, so I don't accept that. And so he's like, he's like, I'm just trying to be real with you. He's like, it's highly unlikely. He's like, the average. I said, stop right there. I said, because I ain't average. I was like, I don't think average. I'm not in average shape. So I'm like, no. I said, just stop right there. I said, we don't have to talk about this anymore. So I go into surgery. I come out of surgery. It hurt like holy hell.
Yeah.
So, and then I found out a couple of days later that it was actually done twice. So I guess when he first sewed it back together, it was too high. So he had to undo it and redo it. Yeah. So it was so bad, but that kept ringing in my head that you'll never run or jump again. And to make it even worse, so now I'm in Walmart, I'm on crutches, and I see this guy with a big brace, and I have a big brace. So he's like, hey, what you have happen? And I was like, yes, and my patella tendon ruptured. He's like, yeah, me too. And then he bends his leg maybe a quarter of the way. He's like, this is what you have to look forward to. And I said, that ain't gonna be me. and I crutched off. I was like, that will not be me. So I said, the doctor tried to define me, and now you're trying to define me. Only one person can define me, and that's me. And so where it all became crystal clear, because again, I am human. I did have some doubts. It was a long rehab process.
Right.
And 2 of the muscles in my quad went complete atrophy to where it took 4 months of stim before I could control it again.
Yeah.
Right. But I was at the football field at Cranston West High School with my kids, just letting them run around. And I was like, you know what? I was like, let me try to run. I said, I know this is going to be ugly, but let me try. And so I start. And when I tell you, I look like a newborn giraffe, but damn it, I ran. And at that moment, I was like, I will get back on that track again.
Cool.
So it took me 7 years. This happened in 2009. And I didn't compete again until 2016. But in the high jump, I haven't lost since.
That's awesome.
I had 1 loss in the long jump. I got second because I pulled my quad in 100 meters, but I still came back and took second.
That's great.
But
it's that mindset. It's that mindset that they talk about that with cancer survivors, right?
Yes.
So it's like the doctor comes in and you're like, oh, this is terminal. You got 6 months to live, and it's just like, nope, I'm not going to accept that diagnosis.
Exactly.
And so mindset matters. And
yes, it's like I know we're at the tail end, but in that regard, Les Brown, I mentioned him earlier, who's the famous motivational speaker. He's battling cancer himself, and so I was on a webinar that he gave, a virtual summit that he gave, And so he's talking, and he said, talking about his cancer diagnosis, talking with his doctor, said, the doctor came in and said, we've exhausted our medical capabilities. And so Les says to him, so it's like, so basically you're telling me that I'm gonna die. And he says, no, he's like, I'm telling you professionally, we've reached our capability. He's like, what happened from here is between you and God. And so like, whether people believe in God or not, you got to believe in something. Whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in your own spirit, your own will, like if you just believe in something bigger than just your being, you can come back from anything.
Awesome. All right, Rob. So that's the long we had. I'm taking up a lot of your time. Thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you at and learn more about you, or continue just listening to you speak and your great words of advice and wisdom?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Easiest way is on my website, robertbfoster.com. And then all of my social links are right on that page too.
Awesome. All right, Rob, thank you very much. That was a very informative podcast show. I look forward to our continuing our relationship and coming on to your show and talking more.
Oh yeah.
And we will hopefully have many more interactions as the years transpire. Rob is somebody I met because of the pandemic. So with every obstacle, there are some, there are some great things which come out from every obstacle people face. And Rob's one of those great things that came out of this obstacle that everybody faced last year. So until next time, we will we'll be doing our thing here, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the No Risk Business Performance Podcast. Please be sure to check out the show notes for any information pertaining to our guests, as well as to how No Risk Business Performance can help your very small business. If you found the information useful, please be kind and share it with your friends who also own very small businesses so they can benefit from the advice that our guests can provide. I'm your host, Judah Boulay. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.